And I want to welcome everyone to this ASCILITE live webinar introducing our inaugural academic women in leadership, women in academic leadership program and information session. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Campbell, who's going to kick us off.
Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Chris Campbell, for those that don't know me. I'm the current president of ASCILITE, and I'm a senior lecturer in learning innovation at Griffith University. I'd also like to get the team to introduce themselves, so maybe begin with Sue Gregory, who's the ASCILITE Vice President.
Hi, yes, I'm Sue Gregory, and I assist Chris whenever needed, but you know, she's such a great and capable president that she doesn't need me very often. So I'm head of school at the University of New England and a professor.
Fantastic, thanks Sue. And the two co-chairs from this portfolio are Petra Redmond and Elaine Huber. I'd like to get Petra. Can you please introduce yourself first? Are you able to talk yet?
Hi, how's my sound?
It's good. It's quiet, but we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Hi everybody, I'm Associate Professor Petra Redmond. I work at the University of Southern Queensland and I'm in charge of my school's research.
Okay, so it started well, Petra. And then we got the scratching, and so I've had to mute you again. I apologise. Now, everyone else got that scratching, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so Petra will again try to fix that before she begins talking in her part of the session. So I do apologise. We had been playing with it before. That's why I was checking her sound was working before she started talking. Okay, and Elaine, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Elaine Huber. I work at the Sydney University Business School. I'm an associate professor in, I guess, education, business education, and I'm the academic director of the business co-design group, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later.
Fantastic, thanks Elaine. So I just wanted to begin today very quickly with the background and the aims of what we're hoping to achieve. So at the 2019 ASCILITE conference, which was in Singapore, so I'm not sure if you were there, either of you were there, but basically we were approached by someone at Deakin, and we started to talk around, spoke to Petra as well, around having some sort of women in leadership community and mentoring that would help particularly our academics in our community move from associate professor to professor. And from that, Sue and I had decided to begin this portfolio last year, and unfortunately, as you know, it was a very disrupted year with COVID, and so we had to put it on hold. And fortunately, and in the meantime, both Elaine and Petra came onto the ASCILITE executive, and so now they're able to lead this portfolio. And as associate professors themselves, that's extremely handy because they're certainly a lot higher than I am, for instance, so which is really, really quite nice. One of the reasons is also that there really still is that gender imbalance in the university with senior academic positions, and for those that are working particularly in the TEL sort of space, we do our associate professors will become professors and then become leaders in our universities. So it's really important that we are providing mentoring for those people. So we think that from through having the mentoring program, it will really help people become more systematic in working towards becoming promoted, and having more systematic plans does seem to help some academics. And we'll hear from Dominique Parish, who's done a video in this session, and she will talk to us about what she did to become a leader in the area and a professor. So the aim is also to provide more mentoring opportunities, and it also allows participants, as I said, to more actively plan for their promotion. And some of the benefits, so we have some really good benefits around tips and advice on promotion from the members of the community, the seminars for mentoring on relevant topics, and there'll also be, hopefully, those involved will have an expansion of skills, knowledge, and experience. And particularly important, we feel, is that opportunity for networking and creating contacts that are outside of your own university and perhaps slightly sideways to the area or field in which you normally work, which can also be really quite nice. So we will be hopefully having some fantastic mentors for the mentees. And obviously we've expanded it, and from just being associate professor to professor, also senior lecturer to associate professor, because that's another hurdle that can be quite difficult. We've also kept it for academics at the moment in this initial sort of running of it, because we feel that moving through the academic levels are fairly standard at every university, and of course there are things that aren't standard, ways of going up that aren't standard, but overall it's reasonably the same. You can look at the criteria at different universities and they're similar, and there's some level of that similarity, whereas when we're looking for looking at leaders in professional staff members, it's a lot harder to have something for a larger group, and I guess it's a little more difficult for us to go through that minefield. It is something we do plan on tackling in the future, but we just thought we'd start with women in academia. Now that's all for me, so I'd like to hand over to Elaine, is that correct?
Yep, that's right.
Great.
Thank you, Chris. So as Chris mentioned just earlier, what we'd like to do is introduce you to two professors who are going to talk a little bit about their leadership journeys. Our first one is our ex-president, Dominique Parish, and the second is our current vice president, Sue Gregory. So unfortunately, Dom is away today. She's gone on leave for a week. But we did catch up with her at the end of last week, and Sue and I sort of interviewed her and collected her story and asked her a couple of questions. So what I'm going to try to do is play that video for you now, and then after that I'll do a short interview with Sue. So here we go, fingers crossed. Share this video. And I've been told that the audio for the video will come from my computer, and I must keep it very still because you'll also be getting the external sound. So I'll apologize in advance if my dog starts to bark. Well, we'll see how we go. Right, now let's just check. Can you guys see that? Yes. All right. We would like to welcome Professor Dominique Parish, who many of you will know as our previous ASCILITE president, and who served on the ASCILITE executive for 12 years, and is currently the Pro Vice Chancellor Learning and Teaching at Macquarie University. Dom will begin by telling us about her leadership journey to date.
Okay, so I have been quite deliberate in my planning for my leadership journey. I worked out some time ago, so trained teacher, and I've always been in education. But I moved into working for myself in about 2004. And while I was in that role, I had an opportunity to see a lot of different other jobs, and I was awakened to the opportunities in higher education through that job that I had where I ran my own business. And it was in one of those opportunities, which was at the University of Wollongong, that I decided if I was ever going to leave my own business, it would be for a particular job. And then 12 months later, I was fortunate enough to be offered that job, and I took it. Now, once I was in that job, I decided that I wanted to work out where I wanted to go to, because I had very much just fallen into roles, and I wanted to think carefully about where I wanted to be at the end of my work career and how I was going to get there. And I knew that I wanted to work my way up to a senior role in education, in higher education. And, you know, I'm probably very focused and clear that the next role I want to move into is the final role I want to be in, which is I'd like to try and get to the DVCA level. Along the way, what I've done is I have looked for people, particularly women, who have been at the next stage that I wanted to be at, and I've talked to them and I've tried to understand what they've done to get to those jobs, those roles. And then I've tried to map for myself how I could actually follow, if not a similar, a like-for-like path that would enable me to achieve the things that they have achieved. I was very deliberate and conscious about the mentors I chose. So at one point, I realised that the roles that I wanted to move into were completely dominated by males, so I got myself a male mentor. I realised that there was an evolving area of practice that I didn't have necessarily as strong in my resume as I needed to be, so I took myself off and I undertook additional study. I made sure that I took on extracurricular activities that I thought would contribute to the skills and the capabilities that I would need to be successful in the next role, and then the next role, and then the next role that I wanted to progress to. So here I am, sitting as a PVC. I have my eyes on the actual job I want and the place I want it to be in, and I'm planning the next pathway to getting to that end goal.
That's fantastic, thank you. Could you tell us a little bit about who the key people have been, maybe not the names, but perhaps the roles, and how they've influenced your views and sort of helped you form who you are today?
So I guess I've got to start by saying probably the most significant influence that I've had is my dad, who himself navigated a childhood where he was told he'd be a nothing and a nobody, and ended up being a GP, and a very successful GP at that. My dad instilled in me for a very, very young age a very strong work ethic and an achievement ethic. You know, don't just sit back and look at what others have. Get out there and get it for yourself, and be active in your career and your aspirations and your future. He also was the person who probably taught me the importance of education, and that education not only opens doors, but it helps you develop the capabilities you need. And then finally, he was the bank of dad, so he paid for me to go to university and all the extra learning that I did. The mentor that I spoke about, the male mentor, was actually a senior deputy vice chancellor, and he was very strategic in his journey. He actually left the country and went to a different role to come back to the role that he wanted. So I did talk to him about how he navigated that. I think that the conversations I had with senior women in my sphere of practice, that was very pertinent for me, because they talked about the challenges that they encountered, and I worked out that I needed to make a commitment to doing certain things that may have been uncomfortable or not come easily, such as leave your home, leave your university, leave your children to go to the job that you want to go to. But make sure it's the right job that you want to go to and the right people that you're working for. So all of that was quite significant. I think the other people who have influenced me along the way are my children, and in particular my girls, because I've wanted to be a good role model and set a standard that they could take on board themselves. Plus, I wanted to be seen as a bit of a hero in their eyes, so they've always encouraged me to try and do better and to try and achieve.
Wonderful, thank you. And we'd like you to tell us about a rewarding experience that you've come across in your as a leader.
So I think probably the most rewarding experience happened at the end of last year. And last year was a very challenging year, as it was for most people, I think. But I, leading a portfolio, went through a change process, and it was a fairly significant change process. I ended up losing, from when I first arrived in the role to the end of last year, I think in total I've lost over 50 people from the portfolio. So that's a head count, that's not an FTE. It was a really challenging time because I was navigating that change process in an online environment. And, you know, that throws curveballs that you really probably don't expect or even consider maybe coming your way. And you have to react and you have to adapt and you have to roll with the punches. And as a 20, 30-year-old, I was a bit of a crazy who was probably not in check of my emotions and probably reacted more than I should have. And last year, probably the most grateful, the compliment I was most grateful for was when someone said to me, "I just don't know how you're keeping it together." And for me, having come from a 20, 30-year-old that was always emotional and probably wore a lot more emotions on their sleeves than they should have and, you know, fly off the handle quite quickly, that for me was the greatest and most rewarding compliment I could have received. I was told by a couple of senior leaders that, oh, well, obviously nothing phases you, and I'm thinking, wow, you know, that's to me, because I've worked very hard to learn about and develop emotional intelligence, and for me that was an indictment of the fact that I had developed emotional intelligence. So, yeah.
It's good to hear a positive story out of such a terrible year. Okay, our final question is for you to tell us about a challenge that you had to overcome as a leader.
So for me, I think there's a number of challenges. Choosing one's a tough one. There's something that there's two elements. I think there's challenge as a leader is that you often have to make, you have to achieve through other people. And so you have to encourage and enable and inspire. And sometimes your failures are very much the result of other people not doing what you've asked them to do. So the challenge for me, the greatest challenge for me as a leader is learning how to acknowledge that I can't do everything, that I have to empower others, and how am I going to do that? And again, this is where emotional intelligence has been such a critical growing opportunity for me. In relation to emotional intelligence, on a daily basis, I have to work out what is it that's going to make, or inspire or encourage or get this person to do what I need them to do. And then once I work that out, I have to enact it. It becomes a lot easier as time goes on and you build a toolkit of strategies and an idea of the different motivations of individuals. That does get easier as you move along, but it's still a challenge. It's still a challenge to keep your own emotions in check when people are being very aggressive and critical of you, and being able to then work out how you're going to bring them along for the journey, the ride, without disenfranchising them. So you've got to really keep them in the camp. That's just an ongoing daily challenge that I find can be really rewarding, but also it can be soul destroying.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for
it's a pleasure.
sharing your insights with us today. Okay. Wow. No hiccups there, thank God. All right, so it's a shame Dom's not here, so we can't ask her any follow-up questions, but that's okay because we've got our second professor who's going to have a quick chat with us today, and you can ask Sue questions afterwards. So Sue, thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed. A bit of feedback there. Anyway, let's see how we go. So Sue, can you tell us a little bit about your leadership journey to date?
Okay, well, thank you for having me today, and yes, I'm very happy to have any questions at the end. Okay, so my leadership journey today is the total opposite to Dom. So Dom's was planned. She knew where she wanted to go. So I had spent about 17 years in teaching type roles, and I was at the children's soccer game, and this person said, Sue, you should start marking out at the uni. You know, they need people, and go, oh, you know, I'm not good enough to do that. I said, well, just ask. Anyway, so I did. And so I started working at UNE in 2006, so 15 years. I'm just I'm just on 15 years now. And so I started in the School of Education as an ICT education lecturer on a casual basis, marking assignments and contract work. And this went on for about 5 years. And interestingly, I didn't want to do the PhD, but they said, if you want a permanent job, Sue, you have to do it. So I thought, okay, I will do that. And so, like I said, mine hasn't been planned. I have just seen opportunities and gone for them. I have had great people to take me forward, and I guess, so this is just to give you an example of the culture when I arrived in 2006. So in the early 90s, the Armidale CAE joined the School of Education at the university. And so most of the lecturers in the School of Education came from the CAE. So they were teachers. They did not have to have an academic profile, as in publication grants. So my first supervisor in my PhD, his first article ever was the one I wrote, my first article. And so that's the type of people we had in our school. Now, I joined because I love teaching, and I just said, I don't want to be a researcher. But anyway, I got a taste for it, loved it. And so in 2015 came the opportunity to take on the role of Chair of Research in our school, and I was successful with that and loved it and developed a lot of people along the way. And then in 2018 we had a restructure of the university. We formed faculties and people moved everywhere, and we didn't have a head of school. So they asked me if I'd go interim head of school for a month, and I just said, oh, okay, a month, I'll do that. The school probably needs a head of school. So at that stage we had a head of school from another school. So, and we were having a different head on a weekly basis, and I thought, okay, I can do that for a month. They will advertise. Anyway, 18 months later, I actually got the job in the interim, the job was out there, they didn't appoint. So I believe that they interviewed quite a few people, at least 5, didn't appoint. And so I kept going on as interim. I absolutely loved the role, which I did not want to do it because all the past heads of school had said what an awful job it was, interim, acting and real ones. So yes, I've just fallen into the roles, but I do grab at opportunities. So I guess, because I've got other things, but I think they wind into the other questions better.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So then tell us, Sue, who would you say the key people are who have sort of influenced your views or, you know, shaped who you've become today?
Okay, well, I've got two main people that I'm going to talk about today. One of them is very like Dom. My mum and I, we both graduated with our undergraduate degrees together. We're at grad together, which was amazing. So Mum was a big influencer, and in our family, I'm one of three girls, and we've all got at least our master's degree. And I think Mum and I might have even graduated about the same time with our masters, but she was very reluctant to go on to the PhD. But my mum is a go-getter. She's in her 80s. She's still working. She runs a farm. So she is such an amazing role model. And the other one was my third supervisor, principal supervisor for my PhD. She was one a great role model. She was a lot like Dom. She had a plan. She still gets it, and she's achieving really well. But she was also an amazing mentor and provided opportunities for me and really great encouragement. And so I think, and she's a great friend. So it's really, really important to have a mentor who you gel with really well, and they take you on the journey even now. So, for example, when I put in any submissions of any sort, she's still a referee for me. So, yeah. So they're my two main ones.
Great. So, yeah, good evidence why a mentorship program is important. So tell us about a rewarding experience or one of your most rewarding experiences as a leader.
Okay, so when I joined when I took on the role as the interim head of school, the university had undertaken a restructure, and so that was really, really challenging for the whole university and all the different schools, because at that stage the schools were pretty much, heads of school were at the top, and then they put in another layer with the faculties. Now that was fine by me. But the thing was, when I was in the interim role, they said, Sue, you have to undertake a school review. And I said, oh, look, wait until you've got a real head of school. Anyway, I go, no, you've got to do it. So I did it, and we had a great panel. Some very good female mentors could be part of this program that were on the school review panel, and there were 17 recommendations, and we're still chipping away because some of them were very, very big, but a lot of the school didn't like some of the recommendations or wanted the recommendations to be altered to suit them. But we've been sticking to those recommendations and moving forward. And one thing that our school was in 2018 was the lowest morale you could think of. It was just awful. And so that was my thing with the school review, getting people in place so that there wasn't just the head of school supervisor for 60 odd, not odd. Well, I guess academics are odd. We are all odd, but 60 academics or 60 plus academics, it wasn't really a smart move because you don't know exactly what's happening because there's too many. So we put in place supervisors and heads of departments. We created the departments through the school review process, and that has been absolutely fantastic. We have such great heads, and there's that layer of the academics talk to these heads, but they can also talk to me if they don't like what the heads are saying, but I support them, and then we resolve problems and issues together. So it's not just one person. It's really great to have others on board to assist in leading the school forward. And our school the morale is just amazing now. Even though we went through voluntary redundancies last year and lost six academics, and that's been challenging, but they're there, they're great. It's a good school.
Yeah, well, I think those kind of feelings do perpetrate from the leader, so you should have Kudos for that. Okay, so the final question we've got for you is to tell us about a challenge that you've overcome. I'm sure you've had many.
Okay, yes. Look, this is an ongoing challenge, and I'm getting closer to the end, but it'll never go away. So, like I said, in 2018, the morale in our school was very low. The leadership was probably not desirable for most academics. It was micro managing and inflexibility and not listening to the story. So coming in as a lead, that's what everyone thought I was like, the same. And I had to really work hard on individuals to say, I'm not the same. And so by doing that, I had to demonstrate that I wasn't the same. And so I have got all of them, bar one, turned around. That's why I said it won't get there. But it's interesting, my bar one, is that they are so anti-me, but because I am in a leadership role, but they don't listen to what I say, even if I'm supporting them. That's their mentality, and I'm finding it really a challenge to turn them around. So it's sort of watch this space. We have a meeting coming up in a week or so, and we'll see how that goes, because I actually have asked a lot of people who are very senior, and most of them say ignore them and don't talk to them. But actually that's not my way. They're in our school. I need to talk to them. We need to get through this, and I don't know how we'll go in this meeting. Could just storm out. But instead of saying I don't like this behaviour or whatever, I'm going to say let's work out how we can work together and move forward. But I will let you know how that goes.
Great, I look forward to hearing it, because I'm sure we all have one of those kind of profiles in our team. So thank you, Sue. And thank you so much for answering those questions. So I'll just throw it open to our participants. Is there anyone who'd like to ask Sue a particular question about anything she's said today or part of her journey?
Well, that's good.
I'm not actually sure. I guess no one's got their microphone.
I'll say something so it's not so quiet.
I'll go.
Because it was nice to hear your story, Sue. Because I've known you for quite a while now through the virtual world stuff, and I've always found you've been incredibly supportive for me, which has been really great. And it was interesting to hear Dom, and I was just like, oh God, I'm so not organised like that. And so it was nice, Sue, to hear your story, because I thought, when you became professor, I thought, oh, Sue must have been working towards this. This must have been the path she was on. So it was great to hear that. So thank you.
Yeah, just make the most of opportunities as they come up, which I know you have been, Lisa. I just saw some questions popping in there.
It's a really good point.
You miss some of them?
Do have really different approaches. But sorry, Sue, I cut you off.
In a tutorial class, everyone looking at you. Yes, that's true. Except I can't see anyone. So that's a bit off-putting. The only person I can see is Elaine. Petra, am I missing teaching? You don't miss teaching until you do some, and then you go, oh, I love that. So I do have school meetings where I'm out the front, and we do a collaborative type of meeting, but out the front every month, so that's nice. And when I present, but yes, I do. Actually, I get to talk to the freshers next week at orientation day, so that'll be nice. So yes, I terribly miss it, but you don't realise how much you miss it until you do a session.
That's right. Okay, if there's no other questions, and it looks like time-wise it's probably time to move on. So thanks once again, Sue, that was fantastic. And I shall now pass over to Petra, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the application process, and then we'll open it up for questions, general questions. Let's hope Petra's volume has sorted itself out. We'll give it a go.
Whoa, that's shocking. I've tried to hook in by my phone, but that's not working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah, all good. Petra, just mute the speakers on your computer. I think that's why we're getting the echo.
Okay, how's that? Any better?
We can still hear the other.
Still got the echo.
Okay, should we get Petra, I'm gonna mute you. Oh, okay.
Yep, muted, done.
Okay. So Petra was going to talk us through the process of the application process. Hopefully everybody knows about the website and has had a look through the website. And we also published a short blog post on there. Do you want to open the website? Okay, so thanks for sharing those links. If you haven't seen those yet, please do take a look. But pretty much we're just asking for applicants to put forward, fill in the short form, and then it'll be, if any of you are familiar with the community mentoring program that ASCILITE runs, it'll be a similar kind of matching exercise afterwards once we get all of the applications in for mentees and mentors. Then we'll see the lay of the land. We'll see how we can match people up. It might be that we put people in small groups to do some peer mentoring as well, depending on the areas of interest that people have asked for. And then we plan to run a series of sessions. We'll use a Microsoft Teams site to kind of build up some community and support between the group. And then we will run, a series of webinars where we might get some more professors to come in and interview them, be able to ask them some questions about their journeys. And the idea is to support each other with promotion aspects and applications, give each other feedback and support. Is there anything else? Petra is still here that I might have missed, or Petra, do you want to jump in?
Is this any better now? Hello? No.
Much, much better.
Oh, there you go. So I'm back to what I started with. So just a reminder that all of the applicants do need to be ASCILITE members, and there is a link to the membership on the page as well and on the blog that is there. And so we've only got a couple more, 10 days or so before the applications close. It should only take you 5 or 10 minutes to fill in the form, so we'd be really happy if you did, and for you to talk to your peers about that and other people in senior positions who you think might make great mentors for somebody else. So in March, then we'll have a look at the applications that have come in and try and do the matching activity. And there will be a mentor agreement similar for those of you who might have participated in the community mentoring program. Unlike the community mentoring program, this is a 2-year program because it's unlikely that you'll be successful to change the world around so much to get promoted within a 12-month period. So you'll be there for 2 years. So at the end of the first year, we will gather people together, hopefully in person at the ASCILITE conference, to talk about what's happening, what's so far, what's working and what isn't working, etc. And then it will continue during 2022. We're hopeful though that this will be an annual activity, so we'll have a new bunch of people in 2022 where the timeline will be very similar to what we've established this year. Well, that's the plan anyway. And when you do your application, whether you're in a mentor or mentee, the questions are quite similar, other than your demographic stuff. Probably the biggest thing is to check if you are a member of ASCILITE, either as an individual or perhaps it could be through your institution. And then you need to think of what your goals and how you're going to contribute to this mentoring arrangement. I think people need to understand that, you know, when they sign up, they're signing up to do stuff. They're not signing up for somebody to do stuff for them, so that's important. You'll need to give us a bit of a bio about you, and that'll help us match you with somebody else. And then the applications go to the Secretariat of ASCILITE, and he'll pass them on to us, and as a panel we'll check those out. Nothing else from me, I don't think, unless there's any questions in terms of the timeline and the application. So Cheryl, I'm in the same boat. So I'm actually going to be a mentor and a mentee, and I'm hoping that's going to be useful at both ends. And it might mean that we have a triad of people, so there might be someone I'm mentoring, and then the person who's mentoring me, and perhaps the three of us will become a triad. We really need to wait and see who applies before we can make any decisions. Any other questions or concerns? Progression is the key aim, or for you to develop some sort of skills and knowledge that will assist in your progression. So we are actually looking for this to be a way to help and support people to get promoted from level C to D and D to E.
But I guess there's also a secondary, so for me, for example, I definitely don't want to go up any further, but I'm happy to mentor, and also I really want a network of other people at a similar level who I can share my frustrations with, ask for advice about. So it's about building that community as well.
That's perfect, because the networking and contacts beyond your university are really important the further you get through your promotion. So that's is something that we will definitely be looking at.
Can I just say, Elaine, nor did I, but things happen. So don't write it off yet.
Yes, indeed. Never say never.
That's right.
Yes, we would love some cross-Tasman connections. and given how successful the bunch of New Zealand crew, particularly Massey, were at the awards last year at the ASCILITE conference, I think there's already some strong connections there within our ASCILITE community. Any other comments or questions? Well, Sue, I'll hand over to you to wrap it up.
Thank you. Well, thank you for everyone attending today. I mean, I could say it's lovely to see you, but I can't see you. But it's lovely to that you're here and that you've participated in the conversation. We really do want to see your applications be lodged. Even if you're still not quite sure about it, put one in, because then you can actually go, no, actually, I don't want to do this. But it is a great way of starting that networking or continuing that networking. And I liked Petra and who was it? Was that Catherine? Their idea of mentoring and being a mentor and a mentee. I think that's just a wonderful idea. And even if you don't join the three of you together, what you get out of your mentor, you can pass on to your mentee if it's appropriate, because everyone has a different type of goal, but the main goal here is to help you through your leadership trajectory. And yes, so please enrol or apply, and we look forward to having you participate. We will have a series of webinars throughout the year or 2 years, and so sessions where we all come together, and I think that's also important. So good luck, and we look forward to seeing your applications.
And thank you to Chris, Elaine, Sue, Petra, for coming on and talking about the program, and thanks to all of you for attending. And we hope that you take up this terrific opportunity. It's great to hear so many insights into people in these leadership roles, and great to see a good community of practice getting started. Our next ASCILITE Live webinar will be coming up sometime in March, so please watch the website for that. And thank you again for joining us today.